Well, good morning. This is Linda from North Central Texas, and just wanted to give you an update on my garden. Look how big these moonflowers are getting with the plants. They've already bloomed, so. And I think I had told you in one of my previous videos that I propagated the little rose bushes. That's one of them right there. All of them that I've got planted on my property line, right along through here, they're all ones that I propagated last year. They were in the greenhouse all winter. And then in the springtime, I went ahead and planted them. Yeah, I got the moonflowers here in the wishing well. And look at all the little seed pods on there. When they turn brown and they start popping open, that's when you can get the seeds out of them. It's like a bird has been pecking at that one. I guess they like to eat the seed too. But I'll have a ton of seed whenever I start gathering seeds from it. I got mums in that little pot right there. But yeah, all the rose bushes that I propagated and planted out here so far, let's see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them along the property line. That's what's inside those rocks circled. Well, this is what, October 3rd? And my okra, look, is still producing. Slowly but surely. I'll probably try something else in these pots next year. Put all the moonflowers out there in the rock garden. Because I had planted other flowers in them that were really pretty, but the heat got them. Those moonflowers were the only thing that survived. That's the okra. It's still putting out okra. I mean, it's starting to look kind of straggly because it's lost a lot of leaves with this heat and stuff, but still putting out okra. And there's a little pepper plant that's trying. Oh, and you know, you still got time to plant onions, turnips. I had wrote it down a little note. I come out here to check on my melons. I was hoping they'd get right before these vines die down. You're supposed to be able to even plant, I thought, cantaloupe right now. I'm not sure if that's a melon or if it's a watermelon. Got another one there and that one back there. Peppers are turning red. That means they're... And look at there, my bell pepper. And I know those are bell pepper. But those are hot peppers right there. And they're as hot as they are turning red, I tell you that, because I've eaten them. There's that okra plant still putting out okra. Okra over there. I'll be able to cut me some more okra in a day or two. And that poor cucumber vine is just not going to make it. It's never put out a cucumber at all. I had planted an Asian cucumber in that pot, and I forgot what the other cucumber was. But it's just not going to make it. I'll have to try again in the spring of the year, this coming year, when it's not so hot, and see what'll happen then. Wanted to give you an update on my plants I put in here the other day. I mean, some of them are doing pretty good. Some of them are just little sticks, so they haven't started putting out leaves, but they will. Because I had already got them in the ground. Oh, the potatoes. Got a couple of tomatoes down in here trying to ripen. Right back there, they're turning red a little bit. Be too much longer before I'll be able to pick them. And I've got melons everywhere. They're just, I don't know. The vine is dying, so I'm not sure. And see, that's what I have to worry about. The animals. Well, the animals getting to it, trying to eat my cantaloupe. I think I'm going to go ahead and get this one. It's the ripest one so far. That's a pretty little melon. I'll leave it on the counter for a couple of days and let it sweeten up a little bit. But yeah, the animals, they love my garden too. Swiss chard is not doing too bad. And my radishes, I may end up getting some radishes out of that dish pan. Tomatoes coming up in my squash plant or zucchini plant. Tomatoes coming up there. I don't think that squash or zucchini is going to do too much, but it don't like the cold weather. It's been getting pretty cool at night. But I made the mistake of thinking that these little peppers here were bell pepper. Oh no, those are habaneros. I remembered I had planted some habaneros, and I have got a lot of bell pepper planted. But I made the mistake of thinking these particular ones were bell pepper. So I was messing with it the other day, and one of the peppers fell off. So I cut it up and put it in my salad. Oh my Lord, I found out real fast that was not a bell pepper. It was a habanero because that one little piece that I got in my mouth just set my mouth on fire. I hope I don't make you dizzy. Let's see, I know for sure that little baby right back there, if I can find it. This is a bell pepper. And that big one right. I'm sorry about that. That right there is a bell pepper. If I can keep the leaves out from in front of it. So I'll be cutting a couple of bell peppers before too long. And we'll cook them up in a recipe. My mint, some of it's going to seed. I've been trying to keep it broke off, but it's going to go to seed anyway. Eventually. And I don't know about this one. It hasn't put out peppers yet. But I think it's a bell pepper. And I think that one there is a bell pepper. These are probably habaneros. These little things right here. One year, the first year I planted those habaneros, I thought it was a bell pepper. I said, well, look at that. That's a cute little bell pepper. And I picked it and did the same thing I did the other day. Put it in a salad. And oh my God, that was the hottest pepper I have ever put in my mouth. Yeah, I need to get out here and break me some more okra. And I've got a few Brussels sprouts still surviving, Swiss chard. Swiss chard right down there. Brussels sprouts. And my tree collards, my jolly green tree collards are doing fine. I'm going to get me a couple more buckets because I know next spring those are going to be big enough that I'll be able to get cuttings off of. And look at that, my zinnias are really pretty. I got to start collecting seeds from that. I mean, I know some seeds will end up in the compost, and that's fine. And then they'll just come up on their own wherever I use the compost. But I'm going to collect some of the seed because I want to put them in places where I want them. I don't want to be surprised with what's coming up sometimes. But that eggplant is coming right on up this tomato plant. Don't know if it'll put out anything. Tomato plant is trying to. It's blooming like crazy, and it's got a couple of small ones on it, so it may do something before it gets too cold. Like I said, the eggplant is still trying to put out, but I think it likes the hot weather. I don't think it particularly cares for the cool nights we're having. I've even got a Brussels sprout or a kale or something growing right there. I don't know which. But I've been harvesting leaves off of it, and one over there, I harvest the leaves off of it and cook them. And I'm not sure, but I think, yeah, that's a hot pepper. It's like a jalapeno or one of those hot peppers. Like I said, I put name stakes down when I first planted it. Look at there. And something is eating part of the leaves off of it. I don't know what. Doesn't seem to be bothering the tomato bush, so. And usually nothing bothers the pepper plant. They don't like the hot pepper plants. That's one reason I plant a lot of the hot peppers. And looks like I need to harvest that pretty soon. And that one over there, I'll be able to put that in a recipe. Look at all those. Those look like Brandywine tomatoes right there. The sun's shining on them to where I can't tell what I'm showing you. But I can see little stripes on them. And I know the Brandywine has the stripes. They're little Brandywine grape tomatoes. And the golden sun gold cherry tomatoes. I picked a whole handful of those the other day, and I still got more to pick. And I got a lot of green ones on there, so a lot more green ones. It looks like Brandywine right there. You can tell the difference in the Brandywine and the sun gold because the sun gold doesn't have a stripe, and the Brandywine does. I don't know if you can tell the stripe in that, but it's got a little stripe. Couple right there. And like I said, they're full of blooms, so you may get a bunch more. Yeah, but I love those zinnias. They're just so pretty. But when they get like this right here, all dried and the stem is tan, all dried out, that's when you can harvest those buds and get your seeds. And see, like this one here, trying to get it in there. Can't tell where I'm at. That brown one right there, that's good. That's seed right there. So I will be harvesting some seed before too long. And the marigolds are the same way. Once that flower dies back, I don't see any that's died back enough to put out seed yet on this. But once that seed, you know, the flower has died and it turns. And my poor tomatillos, I just don't know. It may have been too hot on them this summer and they probably didn't get a good start. So I don't know if they're going to get very big. I may have to try them again in the spring of the year and plant them again. And I think quite a few of these are habaneros. There might be a couple of bell peppers. I'm not sure, that might be a bell pepper. But if you're bothered with ants in your garden, plant some. I think that looks so good. If you're bothered with ants in your garden, start planting some hot peppers. Just spread them out all over your garden, and that'll help keep the ants away. Well, there, I got so many hot peppers in that. Now I planted jalapenos, I planted banana peppers. Some of them were the hot kind and some of them were not. I mean, I planted so many different kinds of peppers. And I think this is a bell pepper. And it's just in a little pot down there. It's sitting on the ground, growing in a pot. And it's putting out peppers. But I love bell pepper. So I always plant bell peppers and hot peppers every year. And there goes me a cucumber. Leave it on there a little while longer. There's a little baby, but I don't think it's going to do anything. I picked some cucumbers the other day. More hot peppers, of course. And I don't know, I think it's getting too cool for my cucumbers and stuff to do anything. But my peppers are sure putting out. Look at there. I'll have enough peppers to do something with, that's for sure. And my poor squash right there is not, it's just not gotten any bigger. So I'm going to leave it, and I'll probably just keep it for seed, plant it in the spring, and hope it does better. Yeah, that heat this summer, we had it was like 2 months long of, that looks like it might be a habanero. If you've ever eaten habaneros, you know they're hot. And I don't think that squash is going to do much. It's getting too cool at night. That moonflower plant got pretty big just in that one little pot. My mother of millions back there. Aloe Vera. This one's still looking good. The one out in the yard that looks so good the first of the summer is just... And look at that. This thing is taller than my head. It is literally taller than my head. If you can see. I don't know what I'm pointing the camera at, so... But it's still putting out a little bit eggplant. And I got to pick this one right here before it starts turning colors. Now, I don't know, these tomato plants that I put out here last year produced a lot of tomatoes, but they're trying to bloom, but we'll see if they put out tomatoes. My peppermints come back. I just had beautiful stuff last summer. It was so pretty. And hopefully this spring I will again, when we don't have all this extreme heat that we've had this past summer. But my plants are surviving down there. And they'll come back up next year in the spring. They'll die down. My lilies, I love lilies. They come up every year. And I've got my rock garden full of them out here. I can see something's been digging in my garden again. My mums, they're hanging on. My white rose or yellow rose. And my vine that I planted thinking it was supposed to be a bush. And it ended up being a vine. And the vine is just going crazy. I got it to go up the stakes, but then it started hanging down so much, it started coming back down. And it's beautiful. I mean, it puts out flowers, and when they're blooming, it's really pretty. Almost looks like a 4 o'clock. And there's my little rose bush. That's one that I propagated in the greenhouse. It's going to make it. I planted it right there at the edge of that pot, so hopefully nothing will dig it up. And it also gets the benefit from the pot. Whenever the water drains out of the bottom of the pot, it goes to the roots of the rose bush. So, my little piggy. I think I got some marigolds planted in there. I had threw some seeds in it. And this rock garden is kind of struggling, but it's got lilies, several different kind of lilies that come up every year. And like I said, last year it was so full of lilies and everything else that came up and bloomed. It was just spectacular. And I know it will be again this spring. If we don't end up with more 105 and 110 degree weather for about 2 months with no rain. And my little Crepe Myrtle that I planted there is doing pretty good. And the one out there, and those rocks at the corner, that one's doing real well. And there's my other pot. And see, these were sunflowers, little sunflowers, and see how brown they've gotten? That's when you know you break them off and you gather your seeds. But see, those flowers, they're really pretty. It's a crazy vine that goes berserk, but it puts out really pretty flowers. I was trying to show you that one up there. I can't tell whether I'm showing you anything or not. But they're pretty. They're really pretty. My rose bush right there is doing well. Crepe Myrtle there. I've got that. I don't remember the name of that Crepe Myrtle, but it's a Crepe Myrtle just like those other green ones, but it's a darker color. Rose bush. My bird bath running, and another rose bush. And see, my peppermints come back here. It all died down and I broke it all off. And now it's coming back up. Moonflowers. More aloe vera. Moonflowers. And you can see I'm going to have a ton of seed. Because each one of those little round pods is just cram full of seeds. And this is my mother aloe vera plant. It always puts out the babies down in there that I pull out, start new pots with. And look at that. That tomato plant has just gone crazy trying to get to the hummingbird feeders. And it's full of tomatoes. I mean, it's full of little green tomatoes. So I'll just have to wait for them to get ripe. And I got peppers coming up there. I got peppers coming in here. I had planted Swiss chard down in there. And I never even planted the moonflowers. I had a moonflower in there last year, and I pulled it out. And I planted brassicas in there in the spring. And lo and behold, there must have been seed that dropped, because moonflowers started popping up everywhere in this pot. It took over, and the moonflowers won out. Most of the brassicas died, or I had to pull them out. And there's only those 2 plants left in there. But I still harvest them, just like I harvest them out of that pot too. But I love it. Look at those. Tomatoes right here with the hummingbird feeders. And the hummingbirds don't bother the tomatoes. Or they haven't so far. I don't know if it's because they're not ripe, or maybe they don't care for tomatoes, but they've sure been emptying these feeders, and I got to fill those 2 up. But see, I had part of that rose bush died back. So I cut all the dead part off. And now it's coming back to life. It's putting out more buds. So it'll be all right. Trim it back this winter, and it'll be a pretty rose bush this summer. And there's the one I got all the cuttings off of the other day. I need to get a few cuttings off of these, because they're knockout roses, but you can see the color. They're a dark pink, and these are a light pink. And I like both colors, but I'd like to have some more of the dark pink ones. And my squash didn't do too much in that, because it's getting too cool on it. But, and like I said, I don't know about these melons. I may wait a few more days, because the vines still are feeding them. And then I might break them and take them in the house and see if they'll keep continuing to can't tell you what I'm showing you. But I cut off a few squash the other day. I got them in the house, and it looks like I might be able to cut another 1 or 2 down there before too long. Yeah, and I had to go ahead and pull the purslane out of this little tub, because it was taking over everything. It was pushing my squash plant out. So I went ahead and pulled it up, but I know it went to seed, and it probably dropped to me in seed. But yeah, this is a hot pepper here. My son likes hot peppers. He makes those jalapeno poppers or pepper poppers with them. And it doesn't seem like they're as hot once they're cooked with and they're stuffed with something, but I've never fixed them. I ate one at his house and it was okay, but I don't particularly care for the heat anymore. Used to, I could eat a lot of the hot peppers. But see right there? That's one I need to gather for seed. Sometimes the sunflowers, the birds get to them before I can get the seed. there's still quite a few here that, look at there. That's another tomato bush that, I mean, that's the one that came up in my tower right here. As you can see, it's growing right out of the tower. It's the one that come up from, it was a volunteer seed that sprouted in the compost from last year. I had thrown tomatoes and scraps, you know, in the compost, and when I fixed the compost to plant this in the spring, evidently it had tomato seed in it. So I don't know what kind of tomato that is, but it's a bigger tomato. It's a slicing type tomato. It's not a cherry tomato or a romaine tomato, so we'll wait till it starts to ripen up to see what it is. And see, I know those are not romaine tomatoes. They're not shaped like a romaine tomato. They're more round. They're more like the slicing tomatoes, but they seem to be a smaller version. It's about the size of an egg. About the size of a good size romaine tomato, but it's more round, so I know it's not a romaine. Yeah, my pepper trees, my pepper plants are like little Christmas trees. And this is my blackberry bush. I had cuttings off of it last year in the fall, and I shouldn't have done that because I found out this is the kind of raspberry bush or blackberry bush that produces raspberries on the old wood. So all of those pieces I cut off were the ones that would have produced blackberries this year. So, and then the heat got to it, because it would have put out a ton of blackberries anyway. And it tried to, but it got too hot on it. So, we'll see what happens in the spring. It should come back like a champ. And with that, I think I'm going to let you go. I had found a sale on some buckets, and I think I'm going to go check out the sale and get this little cantaloupe in the house. This will be one that the bugs didn't get and the animals didn't get. So, please like and share my videos. Subscribe to my videos so my channel can still grow. And all of you have a blessed day.